So just before starting, actually, I want to give a shout out to Kiran. She's not here with us, but she was part of the TCF team in the last 2 years, and she did an amazing job with all the chapters. And बहुत आप सब जानते हैं किरण को. Kiran is a very hardworking person, and Kiran and Sahar are the one who trained me as well. So जो भी है जैसा भी है उन्हीं की वजह से. So what we're going to talk about in this session is the best practices. So instead of like me talking and talking, what I'm going to do is I am going to invite like some of the chapters that we have picked this year, and they are going to share their best practices with us so that we can learn from each other and we can adopt their like best practices if they work for our team, if they work for your community. So just setting a landscape, 86 events were planned at the beginning of 2020, right before COVID happened. We had no idea about COVID at that time. We had started 2020 with a bang with UCC. It was a very successful event. In fact, we had met all of you on the UCC as well. We had a Houston annual gala along with the UCC, which was a very successful event led by Abdullah Uncle and Suhaib himself. So, but then the situation actually changed. So UCC and the Houston Gala was in February, and then in March, COVID happened, and all the events got canceled. We were anxious, we were nervous. I'll be honest with you, as part of chapter support team, हमें सिर्फ physical events करने आते थे. हमें ये पता था कि हमारे operations physical events से होते हैं. हम 80+ like you tell us, you want us to do 100+ events, we'll do it, we'll make that happen. But that was the only thing we knew. We didn't know how to do anything else. Virtual events का, hybrid events का तो concept ही नहीं था हमारे दिमाग में. We thought that's the only thing that works. And it was a very successful model for our organization. So before moving on, I want to get some feedback from you guys about how you felt. What was your reaction when your event started getting canceled? So you can go to Pulse and you can let us know how you felt. Yeah, Pulse. Okay, so everyone was nervous, and so were we. हमारे तो bread and butter physical events थे. हमें नहीं पता था कि इसके अलावा कैसे करते हैं fundraising. But then so just within 2 months, the chapter support team and the chapters actually were back in action to execute virtual events. We just took a break of 2 months. We learned how to do virtual events. We attended all sorts of virtual events for all the organizations, whether they were nonprofits, for-profits, whether they're corporate events. We wanted to learn how to do that. So we followed a lot of articles, and you know Sahar, my boss, she made us do all of that. और आपको पता है जान बख्शी भी नहीं होती है सहर से. Zia Saab is laughing, he knows about it. So we decided to actually rekindle hope through virtual events. And this was our first ever virtual event with Faiza Salim and Riaz Kamlani, and Nadeem has joined us as an alumna. Riaz Saab was very effective. He was very helpful. हमने बहुत गलतियां की अपने पहले event में, but हमें एक दफा भी डांट नहीं पड़ी, so that was a good thing. Then we hosted StreamYard events after that. We hosted a lot of Zoom events. We started getting comfortable. Our team learned a lot on the way. And I would also like to acknowledge Harun and Zainab over here because they helped us a lot in executing these virtual events. They took the leadership to do virtual events on behalf of all young professionals, since that was an opportunity. हुआ ये virtually कि world बहुत shrink हो गई हमारी, और हारून और ज़ैनब के पास एक opportunity थी कि physical events नहीं हो रहे, so they gathered all the young professionals, said हम event करें, आप लोग बस join कर दें, आप लोग अपने donors को ले आएं, बाकी का हम handle कर लेंगे. So that was really great. We hosted a national gala, which was actually led by Azhar Saab, and it was joined by 18 chapters. So अगर आपको दिख रहा था अभी पिछली presentation में कि हमारे events कम हो गए, तो उसकी एक बहुत बड़ी रीजन ये थी कि हम बहुत ज्यादा रीजनल और नेशनल काइंड ऑफ इवेंट्स कर रहे थे, जिनमें multiple chapters were actually coming together. We got mobile calls for virtual fundraising. It's an amazing platform for event planning and execution. We did virtual concerts, we did live chats. We actually had a lot of celebrities join us online because that was another opportunity that we discovered. In 2021, however, we started going back to virtual, like hybrid and physical events along with the virtual events. अब्दुल्ला अंकल ने सबसे पहले इनिशिएटिव लिया कि हम हाइब्रिड इवेंट करेंगे, हम कुछ डिफरेंट करना चाहते हैं, लोगों को बहुत जूम फटीग हो रहा है. So we did the Houston Spring Fundraising Movie Night. That was our first hybrid event, and now we're doing hybrid events as well. In 2022, we're still doing some Zoom events, but mostly we're back to the physical events. We have done 25 events year to date. A lot of them were iftars, and they have been very successful. So these are some of the things that we've learned in the last 2 years, which include resilience. We embrace change. We found new ways to engage our donors. We found new methods. Daniel Saab helped us with that. We didn't know how to involve the donors because हमें तो बस वो आता था कि इवेंट करते हैं हम, न्यू डोनर्स आ जाते हैं, ये चैप्टर्स डोनर्स लेकर आ जाते हैं. सो दानियाल साहब एक्चुअली हेल्प्ड अस, ही शोड अस वेज कि किस तरीके से डोनर्स को और भी इंगेज किया जा सकता है इवन इफ वी आर नॉट डूइंग इवेंट्स. We also found new marketing techniques. We started using social media more. So that's what we have learned. Now I want to understand from you guys, what was your biggest lesson in 2021? So go back to the polls and let us know. So I think people are still inputting, but it's all very close. So these are all the lessons that we've all learned. Preparation and planning are key to hosting successful events. Totally agree with that. Salman Zafar is going to be talking about that soon as well. Small fundraisers work equally well as large fundraisers. 110% true. That's what we as chapter support team learned as well. They are equally important. They work equally well. Houston chapter did that last year, so Gabe can tell you about it. They did a lot of small events last year, and he's going to shortly. Then preparation and planning are the key to hosting successful events. Harun is going to talk about that shortly. So we have like all these points covered. People are going to talk about that soon. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to have Seattle chapter come first and share the best practice with us. We want to understand from them how they actually cultivate their donors and their community because they do an amazing job with it. I can show you their revenue graph. It has been increasing exponentially. And even in 2021, when they didn't have a physical event, their revenue went up by 25%. And as Salman Saab yesterday called him, he is actually the king of pledge recovery. So let's welcome him, Salman Zafar. You're out.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Thank you, Rabia. एक तो मुझे समझ नहीं आती सारे मुझे ये सलमान साहब क्यों कहते हैं. मैं कह के थक गया हूँ कि I'm young enough to be called just सलमान. दूसरा ये है कि मुझे लगता है थोड़ा सा हैंड हो गया क्योंकि कल जब मैं राबिया के साथ थोड़ी सी डिस्कशन कर रहा था, she seemed very nervous. She's like मुझे नहीं पता मैं क्या करूँगी, मैंने कभी प्रेजेंट नहीं किया. And she did such a great job. तो मुझे लग रहा था कि चलो एटलीस्ट 2 होंगे जिनको बोलना नहीं आता. But looks like कि खाली मैं ही हूँ जो आज थोड़ा सा स्क्रू अप करूँगा. तो हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल एंड देन द गुड थिंग इज कि एटलीस्ट राबिया एंड सर से उर्दू में भी बोल सकते हैं, एवरीवन नोज उर्दू, तो मैंने कहा चलो अच्छा है, मैं इंग्लिश बोल बोल के प्रैक्टिस करते करते थक गया था। और ये मेरा टक है माय डेक, सॉरी video is by Rabi, like, depends on what Rabi है.
Hi. I know that TCF-USA Youth is working on the Citizen Foundation. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions about teachers? Because this year's theme is appreciation of teachers. Yes, please. Come on in. What makes a good teacher?
A great support system. Hi, welcome in. Let me check your temperature.
Hi. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
A teacher is
The heart of an education system.
Hi. Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
A good teacher is
A master of simplification and an enemy of simplicity.
good answer. Hey Musa,
Yeah,
what is a great teacher to you?
a great teacher is someone who doesn't give answers to remember, but problems to solve. Hey, a little this way.
Hi, can I ask you three questions? Classroom.
Is where my teacher makes my dreams come true.
Is where my teacher helps me see my future. Is nothing without my teachers.
Hey, can I ask you two girls a question? My teacher has the ability.
My teacher has the ability to show me the light when I'm surrounded by darkness. My teacher has the ability to see the future in my eyes.
Good answer. Hey Anya, what is the supreme art of a teacher? And Hamza, who are teachers?
Teachers are society heroes.
Hey guys, my teacher.
My teacher is an awakener. My teacher is an encourager.
My teacher has not only taught me to count, but what counts in life.
Wow, guys, this looks incredible. You guys did a really good job.
Hi Izza, would you like to say something about teachers?
Teachers are supposed to show you where to look and not tell you what to see.
Hey Ali, a teacher's effects are.
A teacher's effects are eternal. You never know when the life might end.
Hi, can I ask you all a question? My teacher.
It's a learning environment which I manifest into dreams.
My teacher gave me the best gift of all, believing in me.
Has shown me a purpose to live.
Hey Suleiman, you love your teacher because.
She gives me something to think other than homework.
Nice answer. Hi, can I ask you a quick question? Teacher.
Teachers plant the seeds of knowledge that grow forever.
Thank you so much for answering my questions. This is a great cause.
Thank you for coming.
Before you go, I have a question for you, TCF-USA. What do you think about your teacher?
So this, thank you. This video was created by our youth. हम उनके बारे में बात करेंगे and all our women empowered leaders from our community. तो All right. So before we get started, before I start talking about the best practices, I thought that I'll just take a minute कि 10 साल हो गए TCF Seattle को, so just to reflect back on exactly how this thing started. So what happened was about 10 or 12 years ago, अब थोड़ी सी memory fuzzy हो गई है मेरी, कि there were two software developers, engineers from Microsoft who came out, both women, Mona Akmal and Umaima Mandro, and they reached out to me and few others and said कि हमारी एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है TCF के साथ हम काम करते हैं. उमैमा had a village, she grew up in a village in Badin, and she said कि मैंने वहाँ पे एक स्कूल खोला है and I want to get some funds for the operation cost for that. So can we do a small presentation, 20-30 लोग, and we'll just talk about what it is and hopefully try to raise some funds. So Microsoft में ये cafeteria में we kind of did a round table kind of setup, 20-30 लोगों को बुलाया and they went through the presentation. Javed bhai was there, a bunch of other leaders were there as well. And Alhamdulillah, of course, the message resonated when everyone saw the pictures of the schools that they had, the kids that were going, and Umaima's own story being that she was from that village. So everyone was very taken aback, and we did raise all the funds at that event, these logon se. But that's the place where kind of like Javed bhai and few others got together and said, "Ke if two women from their network can create a school like this, so what can Seattle as a community do?" And at that time, they basically came up with a goal कि हम 5 साल में Seattle community से 5 school बनाएंगे, one in each province, so we cover everyone, inclusive. And then, that's how TCF started. And Alhamdulillah, about 10 to 12 years later, TCF Seattle has sponsored or created 41 schools along the board. We have raised $8.6 million along the way. And not only that, we also support a lot of schools outside of the ones that TCF created, because it's, again, I think that Azubai कहते it's part of the same family. Doesn't matter where money is going, it's going to TCF. So I'm not going to talk about this. ये सिर्फ इसलिए कि बाद में deck share होगा तो आप लोग ये सारा data पढ़ सकते हैं. So the other thing is, again, before we get into why did Seattle become so successful, is why did it even resonate with Seattle crowd? हुआ क्या था? तो इसमें थोड़ी सी मैंने अभी रिसेंटली एक ट्रेनिंग अटेंड की, उसमें मैंने बात की कि did we get lucky? Did Seattle get lucky? And I think we did get lucky. And the reason I think we got lucky is the definition of luck, as it was explained in that training, was that it is the opportunity that is available to you and how you take advantage of that opportunity. And the opportunity that was available to Seattle was the community, the layout of the people that were there. So Seattle is a tech hub. Microsoft was born there, Amazon was born there. अब तो सारी companies आ गए हैं, so it doesn't matter. Everyone is born. All the tech companies are born in Seattle now, not Bay Area. तो उसमें ये था कि the people that were hired in Seattle were mostly techies, first generation Pakistani, mostly hired from Pakistan, coming from middle class families. And the only differentiation that those kids had was that their parents went above and beyond towards their education. So education is what set them apart. And when they came here, they knew that their privilege was mostly because of education, not due to any other sifarish, nothing like that. And they wanted to give back to the community. They wanted to give back to their country, being first generation and all. And this is how the TCF, the cause of education, kind of resonated with the Seattle audience. So just a little bit of that. Again, थोड़ा सा मैंने सारा बता दिया आपको, but that was the key reason that TCF became kind of popular the way it is in Seattle. तो उसके बाद थोड़ा सा हम जाते हैं कि फिर we got lucky, that's great, we got the start, but we had to scale. So what did we do to scale, to be where we are? So those are the best practices. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So Seattle में what we do is we have a very active community of volunteers. हमारे कोई इतना roles या designations नहीं है. Everyone is equal. We have 150 active volunteers and we call them Seattle Dream Team. हमारा जब event हो रहा होता है, thank you. Probably 150 से ज्यादा ही होंगे, अगर आप बच्चे काउंट कर लें तो पता नहीं, मेरा ख्याल है 500 भी होंगे शायद. So we have 150 active members. We call them Seattle Dream Team. हमारा जब डिनर हो रहा था सिएटल में, जब सारे खाने पे फोकस करते हैं, पीछे एक स्लाइड डेक चल रहा होता है जिसमें हमारे सारे वॉलंटियर्स की पिक्चर्स होती हैं. एक ही दफा रोल होता है वो आधे घंटे में, इतने ज्यादा माशाल्लाह वॉलंटियर्स हैं. So let's see who these volunteers are, right? So the best practices are very much about this community that we have created in Seattle and how we are leveraging different aspects of the community. तो उसमें जाते हैं. I think the foremost are women. हमारी जो women हैं, the empowered women. I think अतीत भाई ने कल पहले दिन कहा था कि women don't need to be empowered, they are born empowered. And I think I was trying to see what's the best way for me to explain that. I think that is the spot on music. And these are empowered women, these are powerful women. ये ऐसा नहीं है कि ये सिर्फ हमारी जी वाइफ हैं या इस तरह की कोई बात नहीं है. They themselves are very successful in their careers. Microsoft में हैं, tech companies में हैं, अपने businesses हैं. So again, by no means they are second to us men in any way whatsoever. और again मैं मतलब I know most of them, most of them are spouses of my friends. So मैं तो कहता हूँ भाभियाँ हैं, भाभियाँ and my wife in the middle. So भाभी and wife, that's how I address them. So जी, shout out to Aisha, absolutely. I think मैं रबिया को यही कह रहा था कि Aisha, my wife, should have been on the stage. She's the one who does all the work. ये आप जितने भी हमारे events की videos देखती हैं, ये TCF Gen की Aisha and her team, भाभीज, they are the ones who make it happen. मतलब मैं सिर्फ शोर मचाता हूँ, वो काम करती है. तो इस दफा भी she was kind enough to send me क्योंकि ह्यूस्टन में था. तो मैंने कहा खाना बहुत अच्छा था ह्यूस्टन का, तो प्लीज मुझे जाने दो. तो नेक्स्ट टाइम अगर किसी और जगह करेंगे तो आयशा नेक्स्ट टाइम मे बी बोथ ऑफ अस, ठीक है ना. So then, so what else, right? So how do these women make sure that the community stay engaged? Communication is key. WhatsApp is very popular. तो मैंने एक screenshot लगाई इस group की जो Aisha and a few other manage, and इसमें बस जो कुछ चीजें मैं आपको दिखाना चाह रहा था कि if you look at it, there are 82 participants here. एक दो बंदे हैं, मैं हूँ, जावेद भाई हैं, एक और लोग हैं, but 95% plus of this group is women, and these are again our empowered women. They keep this group very active throughout the year. They keep on sharing different things, different plans, and those are the things that feed into what we do in our fundraisers. So again, ये नहीं है कि सिर्फ fundraiser से एक हफ्ता पहले ये group wake up होता है. They are very, very active. We actually share a lot of TCF stories जो TCF-USA WhatsApp group पे post होती हैं. This is one of the many groups. दूसरा ये है कि हमने TCF-UW का अभी थोड़ा जिक्र हुआ. I agree with the sentiment कि young professionals, it's a little bit of a confusing thing. So the UW chapter kind of resonated because वहाँ पे बच्चे आते रहेंगे, जाते रहेंगे. Seattle community के जो आपने बच्चे देखे उनके बारे में थोड़ा बोलूँगा अभी. They are the ones that most likely many of them will end up going to UW. तो अच्छी बात है कि there's a chapter that can continue. In full transparency, the chapter was kind of initiated by Rufeda. उसमें भी जो 7-8 लोगों ने किया, उसमें 5-6 women हैं, एक दो बंदे हैं, तो थोड़ी वो अब inclusion थोड़ा बंदों की साइड पे मेरा ख्याल है हमें फोकस करना पड़ेगा. So again, it was all led by her, and she just reached out to us, can you provide us some financial support, some logistic support, and Sar and team Rabia and all, they went above and beyond. हमने कहा कोई मसला नहीं है. Their event had, they were planning on getting 100 people. They all got almost 200 students mostly. They got 200. So that's the time. Okay. Let's move forward. I think we talked about our youth. कल के breakout sessions में भी थोड़ा सा जिक्र किया था हम लोगों ने कि जो हमारी youth है, that's the, I think the thing was asthma. What was it? American asthma. So that is our next thing. तो हम लोगों ने शुरू से ये basically figure out कर लिया था कि the second generation Pakistani, if they are not going to be actively involved, तो थोड़े अरसे में हम लोग scale नहीं कर सकेंगे. तो हमने शुरू से अपनी यूथ को, अपने बच्चों को एंगेज किया हुआ है. यूज सम ऑफ इट. हर साल हम इनको अपने प्रोग्राम्स में इनकॉर्पोरेट करते हैं, एंड एवरी ईयर दे कीप ऑन सरप्राइजिंग अस विद द क्रिएटिविटी दैट दे ब्रिंग टू द टेबल. इसमें मैं एक छोटा सा शाउट आउट दूंगा जावेद भाई को. इधर जावेद भाई का एक स्टाइल होता है कि सियाटल में मजाक बना हुआ है कि अगर कभी उनका फोन आए और कहते हैं पार्टनर यार एक काम हो गया, तो पार्टनर वर्ड बहुत डेंजरस है, क्योंकि उसका मतलब है कि जावेद भाई अब इसके बाद तो बहुत बड़ी रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे, ठीक है. और फिर जावेद भाई डिस्करेज नहीं करते हैं किसी काम से. कहते हैं इस केस में उनका पार्टनर आई एम अ लिटिल बिट नर्वस. उसका मतलब है कि पता नहीं यार ये आइडिया अच्छा है, 50 बच्चों को स्टेज पे लाओगे तो पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा. तो उस वक्त मगर ये है कि ही ट्रस्टेड द वुमेन लीडरशिप. ये बच्चे तो अच्छा, आई हैव 2 minutes. आई वाज टोल्ड आई हैव मोर टाइम, बट राबिया 2 minutes नहीं. अच्छा ठीक है, थोड़ा सा मुझे टाइम एक्स्ट्रा मिला था, मैंने सिफारिश की हुई है. तो जावेद भाई ने कहा कि पार्टनर आई एम नर्वस, बट ही लेट इट गो. एंड आई थिंक इन हाइंडसाइट इट वाज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट डिसीजन, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट जस्ट अबाउट द किड्स. इनके पेरेंट्स इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, एंड मेनी ऑफ दीज किड्स पेरेंट्स, जो आपने 41 स्कूल्स देखे उसमें से आते इंडिविजुअल डोनर्स हैं. दोज आर द पेरेंट्स हु एंडेड अप डोनेटिंग स्कूल बिकॉज द किड्स आर पार्टिसिपेटिंग. अच्छा, फिर सिएटल में ये भी है कि अगेन वी आर यंग प्रोफेशनल्स, बट फॉर मेनी ऑफ अस आवर पेरेंट्स आर लिविंग विद अस एंड वी लव इट. वी लव आवर पेरेंट्स. तो again, we're sitting home pre-COVID time पे वी यूज्ड टू बी इन पर्सन, तो हम पेरेंट्स को सिर्फ इवेंट्स पे लेके जाते थे. जब कोविड आया तो हम भी बिजी थे, वी आर ट्राइंग टू स्क्रैम्बल. So some of our parents said, "Hey, use us. We are home sitting doing nothing other than watching dramas." I don't know. I'll get into trouble for saying that. तो उसमें हमने we'll talk about gift baskets हमने बनाई. Parents started contributing to that. Last year की हमारी थीम थी teachers के ऊपर. तो some of our mothers they read a few verses. उसकी भी एक वीडियो बनाई. मैं लिंक सेंड में शेयर कर दूंगा if you guys want to see. So again, every segment, women, kids, parents, it is a community event. That's how we are able to scale. These are the best practices. It is not about an individual. It is about that 150 plus donor base that we are talking about. Thank you. उसके बाद थोड़े बहुत मतलब आई थिंक ये तो थोड़ा वो सिएटल स्पेसिफिक हो गया. एक चीज जो बहुत सक्सेसफुल रही है, which I will recommend कि every chapter does. I know every chapter dynamics are different, but the thing that has worked out the most for us is when people are going to Pakistan, make sure that they visit a TCF school. मतलब मैं TCF से अब 10-12 साल हो गए, तो टाइम भी भूल गया कितना हो गया. But when I visited the schools, मेरा एक बिल्कुल ही परसेप्शन चेंज हो गया. Of course एक था कि जावेद भाई ने थोड़ा बताया हुआ था, मगर जब जाके देखा तो it was just eye opening. And the best thing is कि everyone that has gone to the school, their donations have increased. Many individual donors came after they visited the schools, and each of them come back with 1 or 2 stories. तो जैसे मैं अपनी एक छोटी सी स्टोरी बता देता हूँ कि जब मैं TCF के स्कूल में गया था, तो वो कच्ची गलियों से गुजर के आप जाते हैं, अचानक एक खेत आता है और उसमें एक बड़ी प्यारी सी बिल्डिंग होती है. तो जो TCF की बिल्डिंग थी, इट लुक जस्ट लाइक जो मेरा स्कूल था एचसन कॉलेज, में लाहौर में एचसन कॉलेज से पढ़ा हुआ हूँ, which for those who are from Lahore know it's a very very good school. The building was no different than the building at Eton College that I went to. So that was amazing. Right? Cleanliness के point of view से उसकी जो spaciousness थी, उसकी look थी, मतलब आपका पढ़ने का दिल चाहता है, right? एक होता है ना कि वो आपने स्कूल तो बना दिया, but उसकी वो एक तरह से ambience नहीं आ रही. तो उसमें जब principal was waiting for us, it was summer, but principal was kind enough to be there. Teacher training चल रही थी उस time पे. तो she said, इस बंदे से मिलो, ये जो साथ में है. तो this guy came in, he was very happy to see me, or he introduced himself and he said, I am the pastor for the Christian community in this area, and I only feel comfortable sending my kids to TCF school because I know they will not be discriminated, I know they are accepted, I know they are valued in this school. तो ये तो इसी तरह ये स्टोरीज बनती हैं. हर बंदा आता है अपने इवेंट में अपनी स्टोरीज बनाता है, एंड दे स्टे विद यू. तो इसमें एक और बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस, आई वाजंट प्लानिंग ऑन शेयरिंग दिस स्टोरी, बट आई थिंक अगेन फ्रॉम अ बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस पर्सपेक्टिव, माय फादर ही पास्ड अवे इन 2010, एंड he spent his life making sure कि education was something we did not compromise on. अपनी सारी जॉब छोड़ के कनाडा मूव हुए हमारे साथ, ताकि हम मैं गिल में पढ़ सकूं और अपनी सारी वो कर सकूं, एजुकेशन वगैरह कंप्लीट कर सकूं. तो आई वांटेड टू गिव बैक इन मेमोरी ऑफ माय फादर. तो मैंने जावेद भाई से कहा, जावेद भाई कुछ करना है, मुझे उनके लिए स्कूल बनाना है. तो जावेद भाई ने कहा बहुत अच्छी बात है. तो आई स्पॉन्सर्ड अ स्कूल फॉर माय फादर. द आइडिया इज नॉट, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट कि मैंने स्कूल बनाया. द पॉइंट इज कि I was very reluctant to talk about it in front of the wider audience. And Javed bhai said, "No, you have to tell people because it will encourage other people. And because of your school, other people will consider." और यही हुआ. जब मैंने अपने स्कूल का उसमें फंडिज्म एक में बताया reluctantly, तो उसके बाद काफी वाइफ्स ने, भाभियों ने अपने हस्बैंड्स को कहा कि अगर सलमान भाई कर सकते हैं तो हम लोग क्यों नहीं कर सकते. तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह उसकी वजह से आई थिंक 5-7 स्कूल खुल गए, तो इनडायरेक्ट क्रेडिट थोड़ा सा जाता है. So, और ये भी एक है कि आई थिंक जो हमारी भाभी हैं, दे आर द वंस हु आर द डोनेशन कीपर ऑफ द कम्युनिटी. ठीक है ना. तो थोड़ी सी स्टोरीज हो गई. एक मैं LA चैप्टर को शाउट आउट दूंगा. आपने वो तस्वीरें देखी बच्चों की यूनिफॉर्म पहने हुए थे TCF के. दैट वाज क्रिएटिव एक्टिविटीज फ्रॉम LA चैप्टर. हम लोग उनसे बहुत लर्न करते हैं. बैठक एक सेशन था जिसकी मुझे वो नहीं मिली, मुश्ताक भाई के साथ. आपको याद होगा कि आप स्टेज में बैठे थे, बच्चे आपके इर्द गिर्द बैठे थे, एंड दे वर आस्किंग क्वेश्चंस. सो अगेन, lot of good ways for you to keep the community engaged in your events. And then I want to give a shout out to the TCF team. Over the last 10 years उन्होंने बहुत मेरे tantrums देखे हैं, बहुत सुने हैं, बहुत बर्दाश्त किया है. खासतौर पे साहर, मुझे like she is just a wonder woman. और राबिया भी. और कल रात को मैं 1:30 बजे इस पे डेक पे काम कर रहा था, नर्वस हो रहा था, तो काम कर रहा था तो मैंने सर को मैसेज किया, मैं कहा आर यू श्योर आई हैव 15 और so minutes बिकॉज मुझे लगता है कि टाइम जो है ना वो टाइट होगा. तो शी इज लाइक नहीं 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 वी हैव ऑल द टाइम, बल्कि राबिया इज अप, व्हाई डोंट यू गो एंड रिव्यू द डेक. मैं कहा रात के 1:30 बजे, इट डजंट मेक सेंस. बट शी इज लाइक नहीं, राबिया भी अपने डेक पे काम कर रही है. तो 1:30 बजे आई मेट राबिया. हम 1:30 से 3 बजे तक इन डेक्स को रिव्यू करते थे. उसके बाद मैं सोने चला गया. मैं तो 8 बजे उठा, बट राबिया only slept 3 hours from 3 to 6. So this is the TCF team. This is the passion that you cannot just have outside of it. थोड़ा सा हम बताते हैं कि जो अगेन फ्रॉम बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस पर्सपेक्टिव हर चैप्टर के डिफरेंट डायनामिक्स होते हैं. वी ट्राई टू कीप आवर इवेंट्स वेरी फोकस्ड. वी डोंट डू हंड्रेड्स ऑफ स्मॉल इवेंट्स. हमारा होता है कि क्योंकि सिएटल में बहुत इवेंट्स, बहुत चैरिटीज आती हैं, तो वी वांट टू बी वेरी फोकस्ड. तो उसमें ये है कि एक हमारा
Can we please wrap up? Sorry.
do I need to
Yes.
wrap? मतलब मुझे बता दें. अच्छा ठीक है. अच्छा, so I don't want to make it awkward. I just want to be respectful of the time. ठीक है. अच्छा ठीक है. तो दो चीजें होती हैं. एक हम कम्युनिटी एप्रिसिएशन बारबेक्यू करते हैं, जो कि पेड इवेंट नहीं होता. इट्स अ फ्री इवेंट. वी डोंट टॉक फंड्स, वी डोंट टॉक एनीथिंग. वी जस्ट वांट टू थैंक द कम्युनिटी हु हैव बीन TCF सपोर्टर. आके बारबेक्यू करते हैं. सिएटल में देयर आर वेरी फ्यू वार्म डेज, तो फाइंडिंग अ गुड वार्म डे एंड डूइंग दिस इवेंट. और उसमें आई वांट टू गिव अ शाउट आउट टू वन ऑफ माय TCF मेंबर, उस्मान, नॉट उस्मान's वाइफ, फरीला भाभी. तो her story is कि she is a vegetarian, but she makes all the barbecue tikka masala and all that for us. So you know that is our women empowerment. That is our women leadership. But community को दो events नजर आते हैं, barbecue and our fundraiser. But behind the scenes throughout the year, हमारी community में हमारे थोड़े से core team members, we are working throughout the year trying to secure these pledges, trying to make sure कि ये pledges renew हो. We are soliciting different people कि ये बंदा partner बन गया, ये बंदा VP बन गया, अब इसे school निकलवाएंगे. It takes a couple of years to convince someone to donate a school, but that's our goal. Anytime we go after these people, we are looking for that $200,000-300,000 donation eventually over time. Pledges, I work with Fatma on a monthly basis. That's another best practice. अगर आप successful होना चाहते हैं, you do need to get in touch with TCF team and have some regular cadence where you review your incoming pledges and follow-ups that you need to do. और दानियाल भाई के साथ individual school donors की होती है, वो उस पर बात भी करेंगे. I'm just down to like my last couple of slides. Not gonna drain this slide. The reason I posted it is so you can see the flow, but the 3 or 4 bullets on this slide is कि we treat our event as a production, as a movie. तो हमारा जो event होता है, because it's a community thing, people are very excited. They're looking forward to TCF fundraisers क्योंकि उनको पता है उनके बच्चे participate करेंगे, वो participate करेंगे. So it has to be very well organized. अब 150-200 बंदा एक event में move around कर रहा होता है, तो logistics wise it makes a little bit of problem. So it is a well directed movie, starts on time, ends on time. जैसे ये event हो रहा है, other than my section जो मैं ज़्यादा time ले रहा हूँ. तो और हमने इसमें ये different streams बनाई हैं. Again, the key thing here is that we have a single point of contact whose butt is on the line to make sure that stream doesn't fall through. But then because we have 100 plus volunteers, they have redundancy built into it. They work with those volunteers to make sure that each of their lines are taken care of. COVID में हमने online किए थे. That was a different thing. One of our learnings from that was the gift baskets जो आपने थोड़ी सी देखी भी जो वीडियो में बच्चे दिखा रहे थे. But that has been super useful. We feel that in hindsight we should have done it a long time ago. It creates some level of connection with the donor. और फिर हम इस तरह की चीजें देते हैं, जैसे हमने ये frame दिया अपनी donors को. They put it in their home. जब उनके guest आते हैं तो it becomes a talking point. ये क्या चीज है? TCF का है. तो I was telling Rabia that we need a coffee table book for TCF that people can put on their center table as well. And then again, I was going to talk about this slide. I was going to whine about it. Microsoft opportunity means, where you suck kind of thing. So, but it was so good to see Riaz and, Zia and Asad Bhai, all of them, like they talked about most of these things. So I felt I kept this slide just to tell you that this was top of my mind, but I was very happy to see that almost all these things are being thought through by the TCF Pakistan team, and inshallah looking forward to working with all of you and making an impact. And with that, I get asked a lot about, hey, इस event की इसकी video भेज दो, आप लोगों ने ये किया. तो because this deck will be shared, I posted a bunch of links. You guys are more than welcome to see it. And with that, sorry for taking a little bit longer. Thank you. My apologies.
So, just to give a little bit background, सलमान ने कल मुझे 3 बजे बोला कि मैंने थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा बोलना है, तो मैंने कहा आप ज़्यादा बोल दीजिएगा. Oh, okay.
Ravi, just can I take 1 minute?
जी जी आयशा,
And
sure.
आदिल नजम साहब निकल रहे हैं, उन्हें जाना है, तो मैं कहा भाई 2 मिनट एक्नॉलेज कर लूं आपको. For those of you who don't know Dr. Adil Najam, he is a dean at Boston University. And that's not the point. He's also a director, TCF-USA director. And believe me, over the last couple of years, well, really literally a couple of years, over the last couple of days, Mavish, I wanted to acknowledge all the work, and I do too, and the entire TCF team and the entire TCF board. कि भाई आपने जो है जितना इनपुट आपका है हमें मार्केटिंग रिसर्च में और फिर नो योर डोनर्स का सेशन, all that was the architect right behind the scene was this gentleman Adil Najam. Again, thank you. I know you're leaving, but again, we actually, I particularly need to learn listen to you more, and but inshallah, but thank you all for your right. Okay.
So this is addressed to the time managers of this event. Here's an amusing anecdote for you. Everybody extended their time. So if you can bring it into your design like Ziaul Haq used to, every journalist who came was told, you only have 20 minutes with the president. And at 20 minutes, the journalist would leave and he would say, it's all right, you can stay on. और वो 2-2.5 घंटे तक उसको बैठने देता था, फिर गाड़ी तक छोड़ के आता था. So he'd get all the best reviews. So build it in 20 minutes and then allow, अच्छा भाई ठीक है, तुम 5 मिनट और बात कर लो, 10 मिनट. Build it into the design.
No, it depends on how you usually when we go to other conferences, to a given time.
My dear, the point is we need to be more savvy. Other conferences are run, other conferences are run by people who have closed eyes and stick to the book and have not thinking. Be creative. The more creative you are, the better you'll get. बहुत शुक्रिया.
Let's just take 5 minutes break and then we will resume. How about we stretch our legs a little bit? Yeah. Hello. Can we please close the doors and have everyone seated? That was a great idea. Can we please take the seats? Okay, we're going to have Rabia back on the stage. Rabia, please. Mr. Farhan, please have a seat. All right, over to you, Rabia.
So can I have everyone's attention back? Can I have everyone's attention back? Sorry. Okay, so just to give a little background, our next actually chapter leader is going to be Haroon. He's going to be share his best practices with us. Both Haroon and Zainab actually lead the NYYP chapter, but Zainab couldn't be here. So Haroon is going to be presenting alone today, and he's going to be sharing the best practices for doing a taxi fundraiser with us. So off. Oops. Haroon, do you need this one?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So by way of background, I think I've met most of you. My name is Haroon. I am part of the TCF board, USA board, and then also I'm involved in the Young Professionals New York chapter, which is really, what we're here to talk about today. A couple things. One, would commend Salman, and his presentation. I think, in reflecting on some of his comments, I think we at the young professionals level have much to learn from our big brothers and sisters around how to engage the community and event execution and management. I'll share some of our experiences, and I think, in the spirit of giving some context, maybe providing a little bit of who we are and who our audience is, which I think is nuanced and is different. And, as we've talked about, no two chapters are created equal. The New York Young Professionals chapter was, as we define young professionals, it is different because, relative to college students or people in their early 20s, we do target a bit of an older demographic within that category. So think 25 to 40-year-olds, people who, New York is a city of 18 million people, right? So there's lots of different archetypes, lots of different, even within the Pakistani community, age groups, professional, stages of life and things like that. And, our efforts have seen all sorts of people. Our events, cater to people who are, sort of your typical type A, they're in New York City for a purpose, sometimes for years, sometimes for a short amount of time. And, they're there to network, they're there to socialize, to make friends, because, they're there for the first time. a lot of people are there to get married. We've, in front of me in our chapter and our efforts, we've had 5 couples come together and get married. So it's a bit of a different purpose than, I'm sorry? Nekam. So TCF, inshallah, gets even more benefit, and all of you and the work we do. So, but regardless, I think, it's just important to set that context because, by virtue of living in New York, maybe they're a little bit more affluent as part of the young professionals characterization, and working in higher paying jobs in finance or technology or the legal field or even entrepreneurs. So we have to adjust our messaging and our efforts and the types of events we do to cater to that sort of dynamic. So I know I was asked to talk about events, but our events themselves have evolved over the years. Back in 2015, 2016, when we first started, it was 2 of us. It was Zainab, who couldn't be here, and then me. And all we did was we started and we rented a small Lebanese restaurant that could fit 100 people. And we said, you know what, let's just develop an event. We'll market it on Facebook and we'll see what happens. And alhamdulillah, we sold out. We at the time raised $15,000 in a superstorm where basically all the New York subways and trains were closed. And so our journey began, and we built a team. And now alhamdulillah, we have a huge team. And so I by no means can take any of the credit. Zainab and I can. It's now really a group effort, and that is a key ingredient to success, as we've seen with all chapters. So as we go through this, I'll emphasize that a bit more. But I think finding the right leaders, finding the right skill sets. We've got someone in marketing, we've got someone in events, we've got someone in fundraising, and finding that as a means of engaging the community, I think has been critical to our success as a chapter. So again, going back to the topic, what are our goals for the events? One, I think as we've found, we're younger. We're not, at the phase where people can write $200,000 checks. And so defining, 2 sort of archetypes of events is what we try to accomplish. One is awareness. Plant the seeds today so that analyst who will become the future partner is aware of TCF, becomes a household name. Even if they donate $100 or $10 or whatever it is, we're able to create that environment where they can come together, listen to the story, and then hopefully become a donor or a member of our chapter. And then the second is fundraising. We do, over time, we've migrated to doing galas, and that actually is our flagship largest fundraising event, where you've seen some of those pictures. I'll show you some more. 2, I think, is delivering. We say premium here. That's probably not the right word. It's really about delivering a unique experience, right? Like there's multiple organizations, multiple charities, nonprofits that demand people's time, demand people's attention and money. What can you do to bring something to an audience that is different than what they can otherwise do? Whether it be, just a very well-designed and well-executed event. That alone is a differentiator, but also we've done things like events at art galleries, events at, museums, things where people can come and they get excited to come and they're willing to buy a ticket to come and spend their Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening doing. And that even cascades down to like the simple things. That we did an event in the fall last year where we just rented out an Arabic restaurant, but we bought, nice little chargers from Amazon. We designed TCF cookies that we handed out to people just so that they can remember that, okay, I didn't just go and have lunch here, but I actually had something unique and memorable to, sort of associate with the event. 3 is create a pipeline of chapter leaders and volunteers. We try to go broad. Try to create, it's all inclusive. If you want to be involved, we'll find a home for you within our chapter. And that's important because of succession planning. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I'll be honest, we all talk about it. It's tough, right? Finding the next person to take the lead, not because I'm tired and don't want to do it anymore. It's because we need fresh perspectives, fresh blood to come in and help advance the cause, right? And allow more people to get engaged. Events are a means of doing that because people come, they see, they hear the story, they see what we do and how we do it, and that may, inshallah, motivate them to do the same. Fourth is brand. We've really tried to create a brand around who we are and what we do. And, social media is one way of doing it. Our events are another way of doing it, but constantly remaining engaged year round. None of us have the time to do an event every month or every quarter. And so we try to use social media, digital tools and channels to remain relevant, right? Posting content about TCF, posting content from our events, posting content about New York. Okay, it's the New York City Marathon. Well, let's just bring something around. Maybe one of our members is participating in that. And so leveraging that to build who we are and making ourselves a unique organization. And then finally, in New York, this is particularly tough, but maintaining a low cost base and a low expense ratio. A lot of what we do is DIY. You can do an event at the Ritz-Carlton Central Park and have a $500 ticket. There's organizations that do that, especially in the older ones, because New York caters to a very affluent crowd who's willing to pay for that. We don't do that. We go from scratch. We rent the tables, build it, set up the chairs. 2 years ago, we were cutting flowers for the floral arrangements that would go in the centerpieces of the table. Do it yourself where possible, because this isn't our money, right? This isn't our money. We're doing this for the children of Pakistan, and how can we keep a low cost base? And what we do, and we communicate this to our donors, is every dollar that's donated is going towards the cause. We're not using any of that money towards the event. You've paid for that through your ticket. And that's been for us, even though I know the accounting between revenue and expenses may not show it this way, but it's a way that we've tried to keep honest and transparent with our donors. So, example events, this is our most recent event. We did a gala on the right, just this past Ramadan. Speaking of unique events, we're the only ones in New York who do an iftar gala. Good way of avoiding doing things that we want to stay away from, like, galas, for example, in New York, it's very common to serve alcohol, things like that. We're able to do an iftar gala, which people dress up and black tie and come to the event and, actually listen to a full, spiel about TCF. We have namaz set up, et cetera, and it works out very well. On the left side is more just a casual, we try to do something creative. We rented a rooftop, charged $35 a ticket and had people come in the same way. Staying organized. I cannot emphasize this enough. Again, not every chapter is going to be able or is going to choose to do this, but for us, this is our work plan for an event. And this is page 1 of like 5, right? Every single task defined, a timeline. This time is what we're doing here. And so we start months before the event. We establish an events committee. We have standing weekly organization calls every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Everyone should be on the phone or the Zoom, and we're going to walk through everything. On the donor front, we have a long list of donors, alhamdulillah, that we've built over the last 7 years. Starting early and reaching out to them. An event is an excuse to get to them and say, all right, we've got an event coming up, or this is a new project that TCF has. We have a dedicated donor relationship person and myself who make sure that we're on top of them every year so that we maintain that recurring base of donors every year. And then, the final thing is just leveraging organization tools like a work plan. Delivering a memorable experience. I mean, again, I don't want to rehash this, but like we've done, invest in decor. We have an art auction. We have a keynote speaker that's relevant and engaging to the audience. We had Wajahat at our past gala, but again, trying to find little ingredients that help create something that's more memorable and interesting to the audience. And then finally, keeping our team engaged. I think having this as sort of the backbone of our organization is the team, diversifying that team by skill set, by individual, by where they live, trying to find ways to consistently engage the team year round. Next week, inshallah, we've got an Eid dinner that the board of New York Young Professionals is sponsoring, just so that we can have all our volunteers engaged, thank them for all the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears that went into the gala. We have a WhatsApp group, much like, what Salman showed in Seattle, where there's just constant, I just sent a picture of our award and said, hey, congrats everyone. Like this is something we've earned. We try to do local community service. We do a volunteer event at a soup kitchen or a cleanup of a park, and just finding ways to make people feel like this is a community, right? And that I think is the underlying takeaway, is making people feel like they're part of something bigger, independent of the TCF cause. You know, it helps generate an affiliation with that cause so that they know, and it creates TCF as a household name. And then finally, you know, just maintaining our brand, you know, having an active Facebook page, having an Instagram page that, you know, people can go to. The person who manages the Instagram account likes other people's photos just so that they, you know, people see that TCF name even on their own pictures. So, you know, now we've got, you know, over 1,000 followers. I'd say that's a good proxy. We've engaged over 1,000 members in our community. And it just helps keep, you know, both our marketing and our brand up, but also people aware of all the TCF activities and case studies and success stories. So I was told to keep to 10 minutes, so that's it. But let me pause there and see if anyone has any questions. We have a director of marketing who is responsible, who owns the accounts on Facebook, Instagram. We have a marketing committee of another 2 people that helps them create new content and work with TCF to get their content. Yeah. It's largely around events where they'll try to create, you know, new and incremental content. But what we try to do is actually leverage a lot of what the head office and what Pakistan creates in terms of marketing content. So we're not recreating a wheel. Atitab had his hand up first. Have I considered that?
Yeah, young professionals move around. Okay, and then there are young professionals in other parts of USA, Silicon Valley, etc. So become the national organizer for young professional group and see how young professional groups are doing nationally, and give the New York chapter some.
I would welcome that opportunity. I think the key is, and part of what we're dealing with, again, I said I've been doing this 6-7 years. It's hard to find the next energized, engaged leader. I mean, I'm not surprised that some.
Okay, I'll give you an example of a multinational. If they have, if they hire a manager for Pakistan who is grade 4, right? They will say, just looked up. Say, talking of a real example, the HR, they're looking for an HR chief for Pakistan. That's Procter & Gamble. So they couldn't find anybody within band 4, which is their band. So they found somebody in band 5, which is a senior band in another country. So they've asked her to come to Pakistan, but since she's a senior band 5, they say you will not only do Pakistan, but you will do 5 other countries. So since you're a band 5,
Harun, let me rephrase what Keith Saab is saying. Maybe you see, we can understand that graduating and leaving New York chapter like that without having a proper succession, or Keith Saab is a very. The concept is that maybe you have a federation of or a group of all the young professionals. You can stay in the New York and LA can stay, but you can have a common platform also, because they move around and do have common goals, a slightly different attitude and different interests, which would link everybody, the young professionals who support TCF together in a federation or sort of thing. So there's a common group.
I think it's a great idea. I'll give that some more thought and develop that as an action.
Can I ask a quick question? Harun, can I be number one? I don't know if I qualify to be part of the young professionals. Now, next thing is that I'd like to share with you, you are part of the outreach committee. Now we have help, from Eric and Aisha. So I am suggesting a goal that in 2023, by the end of 2023, we are going to increase the donor base all of the United States by at least 25%. Do we take that challenge?
Accept it.
Good.
Yes.
Hi, Arun. Quick question. You mentioned about people being at various life stages and not being able to write the big checks. So in terms of value, in terms of dollars, of the revenue you guys raise, what's the kind of person who's contributing those, 60, 70, 80% of the dollars? Or is there an archetype? And also, is there a different profile when it comes to volunteers?
There's so the second point is spot on. The volunteers tend to be, less of the, I'd say the mix of donations actually mirrors TCF-USA. It's not that dissimilar. We've got a handful of larger checks, and by larger, I mean just as context, we raise probably around $250,000 a year. The majority of that, it's very 80-20, and 5,000 and up checks comprise the majority of it. We've got 5s, 10s, 15s, 20, 25. So they tend to be either tech entrepreneurs, finance folks who work in hedge funds and private equity, not surprisingly in New York. And then there's certain small business owners, family businesses, et cetera, kids of parents who have that.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you. I had the same thought about a national organization. And the other thing that came to my mind is I think it was Najm that said, the university, they have a life of 2 years, the University Young Professional Chapters. So if there is a national organization and they're all connected or linked in some way, those university students, they're not going to stay probably in the same state where they went to school. They're going to move someplace else. So this linkage would give them the opportunity to join TCF Young Professionals wherever they move. So I think a national organization would be really beneficial.
Did you try to reach out mainstream youngsters, young professionals?
I would say where we've had more success is within the Muslim community, just because, especially around Ramadan, if we're doing an iftar gala, we actually have several, Arabs, Indians, Bangladeshis, et cetera, that come to the events. I think we feel like there's enough opportunity within the broader Pakistani, young professionals diaspora that, should create enough runway, but it's a good sort of next step beyond that.
Okay, number two, most of the American universities, they have Muslim organizations. So they're a good source to reach out.
I think it is. I think where we feel like New York, again, it's a little bit of a later stage demographic, meaning 25 and up, because they're, it's their first, second, third job, as opposed to, right after college that, these younger professionals come in from. So we've had certain partnerships with NYU and Columbia and things like that where we've had dialogue, but it hasn't been as fruitful for us just in terms of creating that pipeline. But people do end up going not just in New York, but many other cities. So I think as we think about this sort of national framework, I think it's a good idea.
I had just another suggestion. About 7 years ago, Texas A&M students, mostly of Pakistani origin, but there were also about 25%, from other places. They did a presentation on TCF, and they gave us like about $7,000. And recently, it was so encouraging that our Austin chapter, UT Austin students on their own, they did some research and they declared TCF as the top charity. Now, can we somehow get into these universities and get into this mainstream students who are doing some kind of research on nonprofits and give them information about our organization, because that is one way to bring the mainstream into TCF world.
You want to go ahead?
No, I agree. I will make note of that as well and maybe give that some more thought. But I think we're up on time, so apologies for going so quickly. I'll be around and happy to chat further. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. So for all the Houston team, we're going to have Suhaib on the stage again. He's going to tell us how to keep the momentum going. Houston is one of the largest chapters and one of the oldest ones too. And they actually kept their momentum going during COVID-19 as well. Their revenue actually was very consistent. So we want to understand from him what he did.
Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you.
So, perils of the job of an MC and when you're a presenter as well is what goes around comes around. तो वहाँ शुरू में जो है वो फरहान साहब के थे, मैंने टाइम ले लिया और औरों को भी डंडे मारता रहा कि जल्दी करें जल्दी करें जल्दी करें, और अब मेरे ऊपर वही डंडा पड़ रहा है कि आप जो है कम से कम बोलें और अपनी स्टोरी बताएं. So I'll keep it really brief. As Rabia mentioned, कि माशाल्लाह we have been around for a while, and हमारी financial performance you can see अल्लाह का शुक्र है कि it has been growing at a steady rate. I think the year-over-year growth is about 7%. Overall हमने कोई 9 million के करीब अभी तक raise किए हैं. We have built 22 schools so far. I think on top of that 22 स्कूलों को जो हमने बनाया है और बना रहे हैं उनको तो हम support करते ही हैं. Over the course of all these years, हमने, I think Houston chapter has supported the education of about 30,000 TCF students. So we are really proud of that, to have touched, and we feel privileged that इतनी lives को we have been able to touch in a positive way. So the question comes कि कैसे? So एक तो I think there's बहुत सारी चीजें common होंगी. I think among other chapters, it's very educational to learn from people like Salman and Harun, and you will find common threads among various chapters. मगर अगर कोई चीज unique है about Houston, so एक अगर if you are a smaller chapter and you're wondering कि कैसे जो है एक chapter को successful किया जाए या growth की जाए, तो एक secret recipe आप सबके लिए, और वो ये है कि ऐसे शहर में मूव कर जाएं आप खामोशी से जिसमें आरिफ भाई या जाफरी साहब जो हैं वो कई साल से मौजूद हैं, और उसके बाद उनके साथ जाके खड़े हो जाएं एंड टेक क्रेडिट फॉर कि जी कितना अच्छा चल रहा है और हमने बड़ी मेहनत की है. सो शाउट आउट टू जाफरी साहब एंड आरिफ भाई. This is the story basically of their hard work. But beyond that, on a serious note, like other chapters, Houston, mashallah, is blessed with a very dedicated team as well. And we actually have a few of them here in the room. So I would like them to stand up, starting with Sumla, her husband Harun, Suraya Khan, Kashif Hussain, Farhad, Najma Ghafoor, Arif Ghafoor, Anjum Jafri, Abdullah Jafri. वो Abdullah Jafri पतली गली से निकल गए हैं इस वक्त जिस तरह वो अटलांटा मूव हो गए, but we won't let him go. So, well, now you know. And of course, Fakhia. So there's a lot of people in addition to who are I just named. यानी मेरे ख्याल में सलमान ने भी अपनी लिस्ट दिखाई थी. Mashallah, there are more than 70 people in the Houston team, and this success would not be possible without them. They play different roles, and I can name a bunch of people. मगर बात यही है कि अगर ये लोग ना हो, चैप्टर आगे ना चले, क्योंकि all of us are volunteers, all of us have a living to make, So हम लोग यही करते हैं कि भाई एक इवेंट आ रहा है, इसको कवर कर लें, कुछ लोग बाकी जो हैं, तो we keep sliding and we try to be agile. So as you can see from the chart, हम लोग अच्छे खासे चल रहे थे. 2017 के करीब जो है we had I don't know for those of you who were not from Houston, if you remember or not, but we had a catastrophic event in 2017. It was Hurricane Harvey, and it was such a major event for Houston that our revenues dropped for a number of years. So we started to pick back up. Or 2020 में, as Rabia mentioned in her presentation, Houston का event probably was the last major event that happened in Houston. Houston Gala जो था February 2020 में हुआ. We got really lucky because after that everything got closed down. बहुत सारी और भी charities जो थी, they had to cancel their plans. हम लोग जो हैं, we were able to hold that event. और उसके बाद जो है, the job kind of pressure was eased on us. We just had to follow up on our pledges after that. 2020 तो गुजर गया. मगर as 2021 came around, the pressure was back on us, right? And Houston, like so many other chapters, I believe कि हम लोगों का एक ही modus operandi होता था. एक बड़ा event कर लो, से जितने पैसे आ जाएं, and then you're done for the year. ज़्यादा follow up आप कर सकते हैं. Magar 2021 was going to be different. So we had to adapt. We had no choice. And we tried to see what else can be done. So the first thing that we tried in 2021 was the movie night. And it was a hybrid event. And it went better than we expected. I think by that event alone, that evening alone, we got in donations of more than $100,000. So that really encouraged us. We had never done something like that. मगर ये कि वो इतना पॉपुलर हुआ कि हमारे लोग हमसे कहने लगे जो और डोनर्स हैं कि भाई आप नेक्स्ट कब करेंगे. अभी तक हम दोबारा कर नहीं सके, मगर that is one good recipe that we have that we should be able to go back to. So there was a drive-in that we discovered near downtown, and it turned out to be a wonderful evening. Another thing, because of COVID, we had to try to find other ways to get people together without trying to enclose them in a space. So cricket tournament जो है हम लोग कराते हैं, and there's a very valuable donor जो Houston में है, Ali Sarwar Barlas and his wife Zeva Barlas, who always sponsor this. So this also gave us an opportunity again to get the TCF name out. It's not really a fundraising, मगर ये कि जो importance of having the name out there always within people's minds. So just to people don't forget about TCF. And then towards the end of 2021, as things started to normalize again, हम लोग यही वो था, the general perception was it is still not good enough to hold large gatherings, but we started to see people going back to small social events. They were starting to happen again, and we said, okay, let's try to do that. And in fact, at that point in time, our frame of mind was maybe bigger events are not going to be okay for a while. So let's start planning several small events. So towards the end of 2021, we held a Mushaira evening. Suraya hosted that evening. And that again exceeded our expectations. I think again, we exceeded $100,000 on that evening. So thank you, Suraya, again for doing all that you do for us. So in an earlier presentation, a comment was made about this, and I think it reflected on the Pulse survey as well. Small fundraisers work just as well as big fundraisers. And yes, these kind of events are proofs of that. The challenge that I see is that even though it is called a small event, it still takes a lot of work. आपके अगर volunteer base है सिर्फ, to do several of these small events still takes quite a lot of bandwidth. So to have a successful program of several small events, you better have a very, very dedicated team of volunteers. And although we are blessed, but we also recognize the burden that we put on our volunteer teams. And from, again, purely marketing perspective, we always try to stay in front of people. Islamic Art Festival, Houston ka jo hota hai, it's become one of the premier art festivals for the Muslim community in North America. So they hold it every year, and they are kind enough to always give TCF a space to have a booth there. So thousands of people come to that, and we make it a point to be, TCF always has a presence from a marketing perspective to be available in such events. So that's about it. One last thing on this, हम लोग 2022 में जब आए तो we were planning to have our big gala in February again to get things back into the normal routine, and then Omicron happened. So it was a tough call. And he had to kind of pull the plug pretty much just a few weeks before the event. And that was a very big setback for the team, who were really excited to hold the event again. We all said the safety of our donors, the health and well-being of our donors, as well as our team members, is our top priority. So we made that tough decision. But in order to keep our team engaged, as well as to show appreciation to our donors, we decided to hold a picnic instead in a ranch that was hosted by one of our donors. And while it was clearly advertised as not a fundraising event, we still, one of the attendees pledged a new school to us. So from that perspective, it went out very well. So I think the lesson to take is that as much comfort as we had in just sticking with what worked for us in the past, Houston key demographics were such that worked for Houston in the past, were that 50+ crowd, get them into a big hall in a fancy place, and get as many donations as possible, and then just be done for the year. That has to change. That's something that we have learned through these last 2 years. And I think by having a couple of successful events under our belt, I think we can do different things. We just have to be able to be prepared for that and structure our teams in that way. So one thing that I'm continue to hope to learn from Haroon is how to get more young people engaged in our team, because that is one area I think where Houston can do a whole lot better. हमारे donors हैं, बड़े generous donors हैं, but they are in a age group that's past 50. So we have to somehow engage the younger crowd, and our attempts so far have not been very successful. But that's one area that we will continue to work on. With that, I'll take any questions that you have.
This session was about learnings, and since I've been associated with TCF Houston for some time, I think the key to TCF's Houston success has been, and that's the message I'm trying to pass on, is information sessions. So right before, every 3 months before an event, we actually have a kickoff dinner, and we get people to sign up for small dinners in their homes, right? And you'll be surprised how many people do that. And the idea then is to get people into your homes, and either I or Jafri Saab or Sohaib go over there and talk to new donors. It's not about the teams. So we get neighborhoods. So ये हम कहेंगे कि भाई West Houston में चले जाओ, or West Houston, Sumla and Haroon, by the way, I don't know how you get those people, right? I mean, they hold about 3 information sessions. And I kid you not, हर information session 50 लोग होते हैं और पता नहीं कहाँ से लेकर आते हैं, you know. We tap, Najma and I tap out of the first 10, but they're all new donors. And so I really ask every one of you to consider that. Have a very specific list. कि भाई आप यहाँ इस दिन करेंगे, आप इस दिन करेंगे. Surya is another one. I mean, amazing, amazing. So get people to understand TCF, because it's a journey they have to start together for years to come. Or by the way, information session is जरूर याद रखिएगा. This is a non-threatening event. We will not take donations. My words, we will not take donations at an information session. This is just for you to come in, learn, and then inshallah, you know, we'll work together. So that's the idea. Thank you, sir. I wanted to.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Get a mic.
We have to start a women wing. So please motivate somehow to engage women, and you have seen the results from Seattle and everywhere.
Gee, I think you have a very valid point. This is one thing that we actually were going to start. वो जो है COVID की नजर हो गया. But this is one area that our team, our women team members are actually very serious about, and they're all already pushing to have it started. Go ahead.
Actually,
Sarang.
I was just going to answer that we are actually already planning. So inshallah, you will be hearing from us.
This is more than not a question, but a comment. We heard that we were praising, and rightly so, Javed Saab for creating that succession in the likes of Salman, and an excellent choice. But I don't want to take away the credit from Abdullah Jafri and Arif Ghafoor that we've got a succession in Houston in front of us. So let's give Sohaib a big hand. Yeah, Sajid has taken offense of my statement because we have been very unfair to Canada. We've been treating them as step Sotela. And I personally also had sort of mentioned this because Arif Ghafoor deliberately has been putting them down. And Farhan, rightly so, knowing Arif from childhood, has taken him to task. But now Sajid just reminded me that the succession in Canada has been absolute. Like Aziz Rakla gave over the baton to Sajid, and then Sajid has now given over to Farhan. And look at the quality which is coming through. So thank you, Canada.
Gul, if you can please, there's a question here.
अच्छा, I have a question. आपने अभी कहा कि you need, अरे भाई, so आपने कहा कि जी वुमेन विंग चाहिए. 2 दिन से हम तो ये सुन रहे हैं कि सिर्फ TCF औरतें ही चला रही हैं. तो मैं तो समझा था कि कोई आदमी कहेगा हमें एक मेंस विंग चाहिए. So what's the logic for creating a women wing when you guys are running it?
Suraya, do you want to answer that, or
We can have a men's wing. It will be women working in it or running it.
I think the idea is that women socialize far more on a more regular basis. If यानी मर्द हज़रात जो हैं, they come along जब जो है कोई event plan होता है, तंबू तंबू लेके आ जाते हैं, लगा देते हैं. But women are socializing and interacting on a much more regular basis. जो है lunch के उनके जो है weekly या monthly sessions होते हैं. We want to tap into that. So hopefully that will generate more new team members and create more avenues. Good.
You want to say something? I think there was one other thing that we were talking about is getting the young children, school-age children to getting involved. So that, I was suggesting quiz nights or whatever, just to keep TCF in the minds of our families so that we can have a new generation. So that was one of the things that we're going to be working on, inshallah, after the gala.
Yes. Thank you. I think we are out of time now. So we
I
will.
really don't want everyone to say Houston is Sara stage.
Welcome.
So let's go ahead, Rabia, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahib. So I just want to mention here that we have heard from our big chapters. So now we want to acknowledge our smaller chapters who are equally important. So Waris Saab will be telling us about how to keep the smaller communities going and how to keep the momentum in the smaller communities and how to keep them growing. So Waris Saab, the stage is yours now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Waris Jaffrey from Wichita, Kansas, not from Wichita Falls, Texas. Last night I met quite a few people when I said Wichita. Oh, you're from Wichita Falls. No, from Wichita, Kansas. Wichita, Kansas is right in the middle of the United States. I don't know a lot of people know or not. This is called Heartland. And Wichita is one of the city over there, which is the biggest city. This is also known as the air capital of the world because we have Boeing, Airbus, Cessna, Bombardier, Beechcraft. So having this thing is all the world event also affect us. After 9/11, practically the town was empty. 50% people were laid off. Then hit COVID and all the airliners have stopped production. They have practically started canceling the orders. Now this year, the things are coming back, but it's going to take a number of years. So that's why our population really fluctuate. People are not staying there a long time. I'm one of the few ones who've been there for over 20 years. So we started the chapter in 2013 with very small few people, and then we are going on. So last, we had it in 2020 in March. That was practically the last function that happened. After that, the whole thing was shut down. On Wednesday, we were told, some of our physicians, that this thing is coming on and a lot of people are staying home and have been told to be in isolation, but nobody's telling this is COVID at that time. The saying is something is. So we met, should we go on with the program or not? Thursday, we talk about the nervousness. We were nervous. Should we go on or not? Anyhow, on Friday, we says, okay, let's go on because everything is prepared. The Dr. Sidra is coming, so let's say we go on. We went on. Since she's a doctor herself, and there are a lot of people from DMC, the Dow Medical College, so that got engaged. And a lot of young people we have engaged into this thing, so they can make an arrangement. I had a few slides. I don't know what. Oh, yeah. So this was our basically our flyer for that one. And she came in and she really got engaged with the people. And so she found some of these her colleagues from Dow. That helped. So these are the picture of some of the teenagers that we get engaged. And when you engage these kids, their parents get engaged. We have a program where we start the program with the recitation, and we try to pick up the kids from like 7, 8 years old, and one with the translation. So there are 2 families got engaged with this one. And then all the presentation is done through the teenagers. Most of them, they introduce the host, the chief guest, and things like that. So that really bringing the family in there, and that's how we are keeping it engaged. So it's very hard. So that's why, but we have been meeting our target about 30,000, every program. And then there are people who are supporting us outside. They're not coming to the program, but outside they are doing it. There's them. We have done a couple of projects. We have sponsored one school, and there is just one school got built from one of our residents there. So it's not like Houston or Seattle, where we have 150 volunteers. Arif Ghafoor have been there. He has met few of the people over there. And Brother Daniel, he has gone over there. And we invited him. We have a PGA, and we invited him, and he played in the PGA. But the PGA is for Pakistan Golf Association, not. So that's how we do it. But the main thing is engaging the people. The kids are the most important part of the program. If we don't engage the kids, the parents will not show up. So this is the bottom line is today's small program.
So adding to what Waisab said, I would like to invite a chapter that's very close to my heart because it was formed when I joined TCF recently. So the chapter started in 2020, and Saifi Saab will be sharing how the chapter performed. It actually has done really well. Even in 2021, its performance went up by 51%. So that was really great.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. आप लोग याद रखेंगे कि ये shortest talk होगी with not many slides, so you can all go home easily. तो कुछ ना याद रखे तो ये तो याद रखे. तो हमारा chapter जो है वो शुरू हुआ था just before COVID, February of 2020. आरिफ गफूर को हमने इनवाइट किया, इन्होंने हमें कॉल नहीं की, हमने इनवाइट किया इन्हें कि भाई आए बताएं हमें कुछ अपने बारे में. तो he came over to Bakersfield, उन्होंने किया presentation दिया अपना, and then after that our community took over. Not TCF from here, Houston, or anybody. We got together ourselves. हमने सब आपस में motivate किया, एक हमने team बनाई, which was very important, and it was a diversified team. उसमें कुछ doctor, कुछ oil के people, and there's some other business related people were there. और उस team ने they took over from there. उन्होंने लोगों को contact किया, and they told about TCF. और छोटी community है हमारी, तो कोई भी dinner होता है या कुछ भी होता है तो सब होते हैं वहाँ मौजूद. So we talked to them about it. और फिर हमें जो आता है खाली वो Zoom पे fundraising. We haven't done any physical. And I think we feel very comfortable with that. Only this year हमने ये किया कि Zoom पे की fundraising, and then हमने कहा इफ्तार मस्जिद में. So a lot of people showed up, और जो Zoom पे नहीं थे वो मस्जिद आए थे इफ्तार पे, उन्हें इफ्तार का invitation था, तो they participated in that. तो मेरा ये है कि ये बड़ा simple सा concept है. अल्लाह मियाँ ने हमें बहुत दिया है, हमें वापस देना चाहिए. हमारे पास एक excellent product है जिसमें किसी को कोई शक नहीं है. जब लोगों को पता चलता है तो they contribute to it. Now हमें लोगों को पहुंचाना है, हमारा is the problem. अब मैं ह्यूस्टन आया यहाँ और अपने दोस्तों के यहाँ ठहरा. They said, what is TCF? हमने तो कभी नहीं सुना. They're couple, so we have not sent a message correctly. Now मेरा view जरा सा different है. I think we should contact the small communities. थोड़ा सा different होगा कि we go through the masjid. मस्जिद में कहें हमें एक presentation देना है, जैसे आरिफ ने हमारी मस्जिद में किया. We had a family night. He came over, he gave the presentation, and we took over from there. Same thing. बहुत से कुछ मस्जिद मना करेंगी, लेकिन कुछ जो है मैं जिसको, in fact, I have contacted a few in California, Fresno में. They have no issue है. क्या है बताएं? जहाँ पाकिस्तानी majority है, obviously we need to keep that in mind. कि ज़्यादातर पाकिस्तानी हो, and we can just make a presentation, and then they take over. अगर हम यहाँ से वहाँ के लोगों को involve नहीं करेंगे, तो the chapters become inactive. अगर वहीं के लोग ज़्यादा responsible होंगे, तो they will be very active, they will participate, and they'll take over from there. तो ये हमारा simple सा concept है. We have done that all 3 years. हमने fundraising जो है वो की है on Zoom. जो Zoom के बारे में पहले कुछ हमें ज़्यादा नहीं आता था, but obviously we got support from TCF Pakistan and Houston Zoom में, and then simple हम करते हैं बिल्कुल, we keep it very simple. तिलावत की किसी बच्चे ने, उसके बाद आरिफ साहब थोड़ा सा इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं, ये बोलते हैं, and then we talk about कि कोई graduate of TCF comes and gives a talk, and then we do the fundraising. And पहले से हम सबको कांटेक्ट करके, not सबको but ज्यादातर लोगों को कांटेक्ट करके रखते हैं कि भाई your contribution will be what. कभी कभी तो हम पहले चेक भी ले लेते हैं जाके कि भाई चेक अभी दे दो, and so ये करके फिर हम just that's the total procedure, simple, nothing complicated. We are doing it once a year. अभी बात हुई कि छोटे इवेंट्स करो, but I don't know, हम देखेंगे उसके क्या फायदे, but we are doing it once a year. Inshallah every Ramzan we'll do it, and we'll just keep the same कि रमजान में जमा हुए. But again, I want to emphasize कि हमारी team जो है is very important for us. They all, हम लोग, the team gets together on a more or less a regular basis. कभी lunch कर लिया, कभी dinner कर लिया, and we discuss कि कैसे करेंगे. But other than that, हमने कोई और छोटे event तो किए नहीं है. But अगर और चीजें मैंने बहुत सीखी हैं, बड़े numbers सीखे हैं, but हम simple ही रखेंगे. Thank you very much.
Mushtaq, to follow up, couple of learnings from Bakersfield, like Saifi ne bada clearly explained kiya kaisa, and really it's that simple, right? I mean, just got another kudo to Saifi and Sarah. By the way, the person behind who really did the work was Sarah, getting all the people in the community. I was really surprised. There were 70 people or so, and this is the first time I've given information session sitting on the floor, which is another experience altogether. But I do want to commend Saifi again, and I ask all of us to do the same. He called me the other day, about a month ago or so. यार तुम यहाँ आओ, वो क्या फ्रेशनो में मैंने कुछ लोगों को पकड़ा है, और वो वहाँ भी मस्जिद में होगा. मकसद मेरा ये कहने का है कि भाई, this is, and I'm sure that what will happen there is the same thing that happened in Bakersfield, is simply getting a few people, getting them engaged, and then it just, the magic happens. And so again, big thank you.
I just want to add here, Saifi साहब की सादगी पे हम नाज करते हैं, but we should all know that he is a product of a family who's been behind TCF for ages, since TCF started. His elder brother, and Nulifar, I'm going to come to that, man. Just give me a. So his two elder brothers, Taj Ahmed was instrumental when the UK setup was being organized. Taj was one of the founders of TCF UK. And then, of course, Samina, his Bhabi, and Misbah, his brother, elder brother, were part of the, like Nilufar is itching for me to tell that Nilufar is a founder, has always been a founder. She's been an architect. And Samina, his Bhabi, has been part of the women's committee in Pakistan. So, Saifi Saab, thank you so much. कि वो जरासीम आप में आ गए और इसको आगे बढ़ाते रहिए अपनी औलादों में, उनकी औलादों में. Thank you, sir.
So we have another really amazing chapter who couldn't join us today, but they have recorded a video and sent it for us. So we're going to be playing that. It's from New Jersey chapter.
Ali, can you get the lights, please?
We are sorry that we couldn't be with you in person. Thank you, Rabia, for the wonderful, wonderful introduction. We are honored and humbled by it. And on behalf of both Najib Bhai and I, we want to accept this beautiful introduction, and on behalf of our whole committee also. So Najib Bhai, let's start with the vision. What was our vision in the beginning of the creation of chapter?
Well, when we started the chapter formally, we had decided to make school in every province. And once we are done with all the provinces, then we come back to the first province and continue to build schools. However, the TCF priorities changed in the middle because we had built enough schools, TCF Pakistan, and the focus shifted from building school toward support only, because now we had a lot of schools that needed support. And so we fine-tuned our vision and goals to get with the TCF schools. And most of our fundraising was done to support operating expenses of the school. As far as building new schools was concerned, the focus went over to individual donors who would donate the entire school. And to that extent, we basically continue to keep a good relationship and be in touch with some of our donors that we think can possibly donate schools.
That's right. So Najibhai, then we came up with two main goals, correct? One goal was that we are going to increase our revenue. We had to, because if we are going to support the existing schools, and even if the individual donors were donating schools, in some or in most cases, we were as a chapter responsible for the operational cost of those schools. So we had to increase the revenue. And the second goal was to create or to cultivate deeper connection with our donors. And in order to achieve these two goals, we had to come up with certain strategies. And one of the strategy was to create to plan more events, maybe of smaller nature in size, but something deeper, something more meaningful, something more intimate, especially for our high-end donors. So they feel part of the family. They feel invested. They feel like stakeholders in our organization, in our chapter. Is there any other strategy you would like to expand upon?
Yeah, so basically with these donors, I think that such events gave us the opportunity to connect with them on a one-on-one basis, no fundraising, no other aspects of the program. Generally, it's more of an informal interaction with them. And that kind of helps them glue to TCF because they do feel that we value them and we take care of them. Other strategies, really, as you mentioned, that organize small events that we continue to do. But at the same time, also, we have presence at the community events and events at personal events at people's houses where we can introduce TCF.
That's right. And we also did a lot of social media engagement, and we hired a lot of hired, I mean, we engaged free labor, a lot of high school, college kids to do some social media outreach for us. And also, for the first time this year, we had 3 peer-to-peer activities going on for our chapter. So 3 individuals outside of our core committee decided to, very generously, decided to raise funds for us. One was one individual decided to raise funds for the TCF alum who is studying at a professional college. And she raised funds for her 4-year college tuition. Then we had another generous soul. She decided to create her own WhatsApp group during Ramzan and asked her network to raise funds for, or to ask her network to, raise funds for the our Ramzan campaign, which is a huge deal for us. And then we had a young professional who decided to raise funds, who decided to adopt a school for 1 year by raising operational costs for this particular school built by TCF. So, this is something that happened for the first time for us, 3 individuals doing this for us. We are very grateful for them and hope that we multiply these kind of activities in the future. Because the more people are tethered to the cause, the better it is for the cause, obviously. Anything else, Najibhai, that comes to mind?
No, I just wanted to mention here, since our goal was to really increase the revenue, we did see the potential. We did see steady revenue increase year over year. And I think lately we have seen a big surge in the revenue. So we did try to restructure the chapter committee in a way that we can assign some functions to a couple of members so that they can lead those functions. Everybody obviously chips in, and that basically had donor analysis and revenue tracking, social media, also outreach and event planning and execution of the event, as well as supporting the president when he or she cannot be available to continue with the function of the chapters. So we did that kind of a restructure. Lately, we also feel that since we have increased our revenue considerably, I think we need to take a second look at what we just stated so that we can continue to improve our functions and we can reach out to more community members, because we do feel that there is a lot of potential in the New Jersey community and we can do a better job over there.
Correct, correct. I think I would be remiss if we don't mention the Ramadan campaign, which is one of the biggest campaigns that we do during the year. The Ramadan campaign is a live WhatsApp campaign on the daily basis. We add, we share, first of all, we add 100 to 200 people to the group. Then we start sharing these heart-wrenching and sometimes and a lot of uplifting stories of our TCF students. And so we kind of inform our potential donors about, what we are doing, what is TCF doing, what is the state of education in Pakistan, and whatever donations or pledges we receive, we post them on the WhatsApp group. And of course, we do it strategically. So, every day we have something to post, and whatever our goal is, we like to, have an average posting per day. So that is, one way of doing it. Another thing is that we do our physical gala. Our physical gala is also something, and now more and more people are aware of it and are looking forward to it. We do, try to make it as interesting as possible, as I'm sure all the other chapters do as well. Couple of things that have worked for us is that we do dinner before the program. That gives us plenty of time to meet and greet, at the same time keep us on track. And secondly, we have brought the ticket prices down, which has been a game changer for us. And, it has really, I think the enthusiasm to attend the physical gala has increased. Plus, during the COVID times, we were the first chapter to go virtual and had a huge success, surprisingly for most of us. We had about 600 clicks and did really well, and raised funds beyond the anticipated amount, mashallah. So overall, we are very happy with our success, and alhamdulillah, with the grace of Almighty, we would like to do, better next year. That is the whole goal, to do better than before. That's it. We like to compete with ourselves and nobody else. And at the end, it is all for Pakistan, the children of Pakistan, and for Pakistan's well-being. Najib bhai, would you like to say a couple of things before we end?
Yeah. So basically, I would just like to add here that for our events, primarily Ramadan campaign and gala, we do call out our donors and reach out to them and inform them about our campaign that's going on, or the gala that is going on, and tell them the details of it. That's one thing that we continuously do. I do want to mention one thing to all the other chapters, which is that those chapters that have not had female presidents, please do make a female president. And I'm very serious, because it does have a very good impact. And the impact is that whenever we go and visit donors, a female president is able to socialize much easily and much freely with the ladies over there. And it happens a few times that our president was able to get the commitments from the ladies before we even started talking to the men. And so that really, it has but I think there are other benefits also. Obviously, Mona is offering great leadership to our chapter, but I think this is something very important to consider.
Oh my goodness, Najib bhai, I did not see this coming. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. But I think you were just being too kind. Anybody can do it. And of course, we know, I mean, yeah, women do certain things a lot better. And so do men. You know, we all have our strengths, and as long as we bring it together. So, I mean, thank you, Rajiv Bhai. I'm really taken aback by your very generous comments. But thank you, everybody, for listening to us. And we hope we have been, we have been helpful. And Pakistan Zindabad. And let's, keep going strength to strength, inshallah. Thank you.
I guess women are the theme of this UCC. Okay.
I have 5 minutes. It's up to you guys. I have 5 minutes. I'm just going to use 5 minutes. I don't think this cheese is fine.
Okay, let's stretch our fingers again. Please go to Pulse and tell us how did we do with this session where we kind of gave you the best practices for different chapters. Okay, on the agenda it says कि ambassador training होने वाली है. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Actually, Salman is going to share a plan on how to do ambassador training. So that is a plan for you, not the real training. Salman, over to you.
Thank you. I'm going to try to compete with Saifi Saab to make it even shorter than his one. So definitely not a training, but just एक दो important points अगर हम यहाँ से जाएं हमारे ज़हनों में हो, that's about it, not more than 5 minutes. But before I start, I just want to acknowledge my team for setting this all up. I really do not want to be between the founder stories and you guys, so I'll just keep it short, but still want to acknowledge my team. बहुत सारे लोगों की आपको यहाँ शक्लें नजर आ रही हैं, but there are a lot of people in the background जिस conference के लिए बहुत काम किया है. So I want to thank my team for those late nights, those long 5-hour meetings that my team did, those debates, those last-minute changes that happened in the conference, and nobody even fringed one. So thank you. And they tried their best. I hope they made you as comfortable as possible. And I hope they've tried to, got as much information as we could have given you. So thank you to my team for setting the entire conference up. एक important बात जो मैं यहाँ जरूर वापस अपनी इसमें जाऊँगा strategy slide में was the new donors. Chapters की भी अभी आपने best practices सुनी. The underlying theme was new donors. हमें नए donors is something that we need to work on. इंसान अच्छी बातें तो अपनी family में करता है, but इंसान को challenges भी अपनी family में share कर सकता है. And this is a challenge that I'm sharing with my family. New donors is where we have to work. So हमने कुछ काम किया है इसके ऊपर और हमने कुछ कनाडा ने भी अपने numbers दिखाए. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, Canada is something that we learn from you, how to get new donors. और the दूसरी country how we learn to get new donors is our home country, Pakistan. पाकिस्तान को भी ये स्ट्रगल आ रही थी, बट पाकिस्तान ने फिर कुछ काम किया, एक आध दो प्रोग्राम्स लॉन्च किए. आई हैव हैड द ऑनर टू लुक एट दोस प्रोग्राम्स, बी अ पार्ट ऑफ असिस्टेंट दोस प्रोग्राम. इट्स कॉल्ड बागबान. इट्स अ कम्युनिटी आउटरीच प्रोग्राम एंड उसका पूरा फोकस था कि हम कैसे कम्युनिटी पे आउटरीच करें और नए लोगों को टीसीएफ से मुंसलिक करें. उसके बेस पे, एंड दिस इज माय लास्ट स्लाइड बाय द वे, सो उसके बेस पे हमने एक कुछ मॉड्यूल्स तैयार करें पाकिस्तान के साथ. और हम बेसिकली फिर पाकिस्तान को, आपने रियाज को सुना आज, आपने जिया को सुना आज, इन लोगों के साथ हम मॉड्यूल्स बना रहे हैं ताकि देयर इज आल्सो क्वेश्चन अबाउट टीसीएफ इतनी खूबसूरत चीजें कर रहा है, हमें क्या पता है क्या वो खूबसूरत चीजें कर रहा है, और हम किस तरह अपने डोनर्स को बताएं कि क्या खूबसूरत चीजें हो रही हैं. उस पर हम काम कर रहे हैं. मेरी रिक्वेस्ट होगी कि जब हम ये मॉड्यूल्स लॉन्च करें, ऑफ कोर्स सबको एक जगह जमा करने में तो 2 साल और लगेंगे इंशाल्लाह ऑन यूसीसी 2024, लेकिन हम लोग मॉड्यूल्स बनाएंगे, हम साथ जूम कॉल्स करेंगे, टीसीएफ के बारे में बातें करेंगे, अमेरिकन नेशनल्स को क्या बेनिफिट है, टैक्स बेनिफिट, वो मॉड्यूल 1 है. डिटेल्स जो आज जियाज और जिया ने बहुत बात की थी, उनके मॉड्यूल्स बनाएंगे ताकि आप लोगों के पास सारी चीजें अवेलेबल हो. इंगेजिंग डोनर्स अनदर वन. हमारे बहुत अच्छे साथी हैं, यहाँ नहीं है, असफंदियार, इनायत, बहुत अच्छा काम करते हैं, बेकर्सफील्ड वाले जानते हैं उनको, उन्होंने बेकर्सफील्ड के साथ फंड रेजिंग की थी। उन्होंने कुछ अपने, जिस तरह उन्होंने 2000 से 4000 डोनर्स को लेके गए, अपने कुछ ख्यालात, कुछ प्रेजेंटेशंस बनाई, हम उनसे यूज करेंगे। आज हम उस ट्रेनिंग का स्टार्ट करेंगे, लेकिन मुझसे नहीं, TCF स्टोरीज से, जो हमारे फाउंडर्स और हमारे पाकिस्तान के साथी हमारे साथ अब शेयर करने वाले हैं। बट ओनली थिंग दैट, और इवेंट फंड रेजिंग किस तरह बेहतर हो सकती है, उसके भी हम स्टैंडर्डाइज मॉड्यूल्स बना रहे हैं। तो हम ये ट्रेनिंग लॉन्च करें इंशाल्लाह एक साल। हमारे पास अब एक HR टीम है, हमारे पास ट्रेनिंग के लोग हैं, तो इस पर काम शुरू कर दिया है। लास्ट पॉइंट, ये जब ये सब कर लेंगे तो आप बनेंगे क्या, ये बड़ा जरूरी है। तो अब्दुल्ला साहब, अगर हम ये सब कर लेंगे तो हम क्या बनेंगे? बिल्कुल सही कहा आप लोगों ने। इस पूरे कमरे में हर जगह अब्दुल्ला साहब होंगे। And I'm just using an example. We have much more, and we all know we are so near. We all Abdullah Saab. But just wanted to share, if you want to take two things out of this from the management angle, is new donors, new chapters, new major donors is where we have to go. Alhamdulillah, we're doing very well, but let's do more, and let's inshallah have this graph turned around to this graph, inshallah, very soon in next UCC. Thank you very much. Back to the moderators.